we need to understand what are the best parameters for stretching, right? So here's the thing. If you're trying to get a better, let's say 1 rep max deadlift, should you go into the gym and try to max out every single day, maybe even twice a day? Is that going to allow you to get the best possible deadlift over the course of time? Or will you crash and burn because there's too much training volume and intensity? Probably the latter, right? Should I deadlift once a month? Is that the best way to do it? Maybe, I'm not sure. I would say probably once a week, maybe twice a week is probably the best thing. There's probably a sweet spot, right? And you probably want to incorporate specific accessory exercises, right? You want to be able to recover properly. There's a lot that goes into that program to optimize it, okay? But I don't think we put a lot of thought into optimizing our mobility or stretch programs, right? So what is optimal? There's a whole bunch of different types of stretching. You have static stretching, you have PNF stretching, you have ballistic stretching, there's dynamic stretching, there's eccentrics, there's foam rolling, and eccentrics and foam rolling were not included in this study. Unfortunately, I kind of wish they were, right? You have durations. So should I stretch for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 120 seconds? Should I do 1 set, 3 sets, right? Should I be stretching every single day, twice a week? What's the best parameter, right? Because for most things, you have to find that right dosage in order to make best progress, but we don't really fully know that. So this article is trying to figure that out. What are the results of this study? Well, this is kind of cool. All stretches improved range of motion after 4 weeks. So every single stretch that they looked at had some sort of change in range of motion. But here's what's kind of cool, right? Static stretching was the most superior. So over the course of the studies they chose, it had an average of a 20% change in someone's flexibility, whereas ballistic stretching was an 11% change on average, and PNF stretching was a 15% change on average, right? And that's kind of cool to me because we tend to poo-poo on static stretching, saying that there's better forms of stretching, when in reality, static stretching is potentially better than all the other forms of stretching that we know of right now, right? How about duration in session? How long should I be holding this stretch? So what they found is that 30 to 60 seconds was kind of the sweet spot, right? And if you held it any more than that, it didn't give you better results. So if I held it for 120 seconds or I held it for, 5 minutes, it didn't change my range of motion in the long term, which is kind of cool because I don't necessarily need to do more than 30 to 60 seconds in one session, right? How about duration per week? Right? And what they showed is that a minimum of 5 minutes per week was needed for significant changes. If I wasn't doing at least 5 minutes per week, then I wasn't getting a change. And what they found was that 5 to 10 minutes was going to be the greatest amount of flexibility change. And if I went for greater than 10 minutes, it didn't make a change. So 5 to 10 minutes is really the sweet spot for stretching. So how about the duration? How long should I stretch for? So generally speaking, we need to have about 4 weeks of stretching to make a change. And the longer the program is, the greater the improvements, right? So the longest study that they had in this systematic review was 16 weeks. And generally speaking, the longer that you held these stretches over the course of time, the better you end up doing. What's optimal from a frequency perspective? How many days per week should I stretch? And what they showed was 5 to 7 days per week was most optimal. I think 6 was actually the most optimal, but that wasn't statistically significant. And 7 days was actually worse than 6. So 5 to 6 is probably the best, although, it doesn't make a difference. Somewhere between 5 and 7 is probably what you're looking for, right? So here's what I want you to do next, guys. If you enjoyed this video so far, I have an entire course. It's free. It's called the Fitness Pain-Free Mini Course. And we go over 3 lessons. Going to help you take a lot of this information that we went over so far and put it into practice. The first lecture is called Why We Need a Better System. So first and foremost, the way we treat fitness individuals, all right, athletic people in the gym from a physical therapy perspective is pretty much broke, okay? So we need a better system to serve the folks that are in the gym, that get hurt, they want to get back to training, all right? Lecture number 2 is called 7 Reasons Why People Get Hurt in the Gym. And essentially, we have to know the reasons why people get hurt in the gym so we can keep them safe in the future, right? And when they get hurt, we have to know why and how to get them back to training in the gym. Okay, so a thorough understanding of this is very, very important. I actually have a really cool infographic that goes along with this lecture that you get for free as well. And lastly, we go over a case study of how to get someone out of pain and back to training. So these principles are all phenomenal, but we don't actually put it together and you don't understand how to create a program to get people back in the gym and keep them safe for the long term, then we lose, right? So I'll put a link in the show notes for this. It's a Fitness Pain-Free Mini Course. Definitely check this out.